안녕하세요. 오빠입니다. Hello everyone, this is Oppa. Today we will learn how to say before and after in Korean. First, I will deal with before and then after. There are two ways of using before or ago in Korean. If you want to use before with a noun, you simply put 전 after a noun. If you want to use before with a verb, you put 기 전에 after a verb stem. But please keep in mind here, in Korean, you should say a subordinate clause first. If you don't get it right now, no worries. First, I will show you how to use before with a noun. Here are 5 sentences. I met my boyfriend 4 months ago. 4 months ago. 저는 4 months ago. 4 month is 4달. 4달 is a noun, so 전에 ago 4달 전에 my boyfriend 저의 남자친구를 만났어요. Second sentence, the summer vacation began 2 weeks ago. The summer vacation, 여름 방학이 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks, 2주, 2 weeks, a noun, right? And ago, 2주, noun plus ago, 2주 전에, began, to begin, 시작하다, past tense, 시작했어요. I bought this cap 1 year ago. 저는 1 year ago, 1 year, 1년, 1년, 1 year noun plus ago, so 1년 전에 this cap, 이 모자를 샀어요. The teacher came 10 minutes ago. The teacher, 선생님이 10 minutes, 10분 전에, the 10 minutes noun plus ago, 10분 전에, to come, 오다, past tense, 왔어요. I graduated 2 years ago. 저는 2 years, 2년, 2 years, noun plus ago, so 2년 전에. To graduate, 졸업하다, past tense, 졸업했어요. Now, before with a verb. Here are also 5 sentences. Let me show you how to use it in extra sentences. Before I took the exam. To take an exam is 시험을 보다. So 보다 is the verb and the stem is 보. So stem plus 기전에 then I study. 저는 공부했어요. Again, please keep in mind, in Korean, you should say the subordinate clause first, and then the main clause. In other words, in Korean, you don't say like this. 저는 공부했어요. 시험을 보기 전에. This is not correct. You should say the subordinate clause first and then the main clause. And you can omit the subject in the subordinate clause because the subject in the main clause is the same as the subject in the subordinate clause. Another example, before I had lunch. To have lunch is 점심 식사를 하다. 하다 is the verb and the stem is 하. So 하기 전에 저는 my hands 저의 손을 to wash 씻다 past tense 씻었어요. Another example, before I went to Korea, I learned Korean. To go to Korea is 한국에 가다. The verb is 가다 to go. The stem is 가. So 가기 전에 I learned Korean. 저는 한국어를 배웠어요. 배우다 is the present tense. 배웠어요 is the past tense. Before I met a friend, I did homework. To meet a friend, 친구를 만나다. To meet 만나다 is the verb, so the stem is 만나. So stem plus 기 전에, so 만나기 전에. I did homework. 저는 to do homework, 숙제를 하다. But past tense, 숙제를 했어요. Before I went to school, I took a shower. To go to school is 학교에 가다. To go, 가다 is the verb, and the verb stem is 가 plus 기 전에. 학교에 가기 전에 I took a shower. 저는 샤워 하다 to take a shower. The past tense 샤워했어요. Now, after or later. There are two ways of using after or later in Korean. If you want to use after with a noun, you simply put 후에 after noun. If you want to use after with a verb, you put 니은 후에 after verb stem ending in a vowel. Or you put 은 후에 after verb stem ending in a consonant. Again, in Korean, you should say a subordinate clause first and then main clause. Let me show you how to use it in actual sentences. Let's do after with a noun. I will go 3 hours later. 저는 3시간, 3 hours later, 후에. So 3 hours for a noun and then later. So 3시간, 3 hours and then 후에. 3시간 후에. To go, 가다, but future tense. So 갈 거예요, 갈 거예요. The class will finish in 10 minutes later. The class 수업이 10 minutes, 10분. So 10 minutes noun plus later. So 10분 후에 finish 끝나다. Future tense 끝날 거예요. I will graduate 2 years later. 저는 2 years later, 2 years, 2년. 2년, 2 years is a noun, so a noun plus later, so 2년 후에. To graduate is 졸업하다, but future tense, so 졸업할 거예요. 졸업할 거예요. He will come 3 weeks later. 그는 3 weeks, 3주, a noun plus later, so 3주 후에. To come is 오다, but future tense, 올 거예요, 올 거예요. I will meet a friend after dinner. 저는 dinner is 저녁 식사. So dinner is a noun and noun with after. So 저녁 식사 후에 a friend 친구를 to meet 만나다, but future tense 만날 거예요. Lastly, after with a verb. Here again, 5 sentences. After I did my homework, I played. To do homework is 숙제하다. So the stem is 숙제하. 숙제하. The stem ending with the vowel. So 숙제한 후에 저는 놀다 to play, but past tense 놀았어요. 놀았어요. Again, please keep in mind you should say the subordinate clause first and then the main clause. In other words, in Korean, you don't say like this. 저는 놀았어요. 숙제한 후에. This is not correct. 숙제한 후에 저는 놀았어요. You can omit the subject in the subordinate clause because the subject in the main clause is the same as the subject in the subordinate clause. After I met a friend, I watched the movie. To meet a friend, 친구를 만나다. 만나다. The stem is 만나. So the stem ending with the vowel, so 니은 후에 만난 후에 I watched the movie. 저는 영화를 to watch is 보다, but past tense 봤어요. After I put on a cap, I went outside. To put on a cap is 모자를 쓰다, 쓰다. The verb stem 쓰 ending with the vowel, so 니은 후에 모자를 쓴 후에 저는 밖에 to go 가다, but past tense 갔어요. 밖에 갔어요. After I learned Korean, I went to Korea. To learn Korean is 한국어를 배우다. 배우다, the stem is 배우. The stem ending with the vowel, so 니은 후에, so 배운 후에 저는 한국에 to go 가다, but past tense 갔어요. Lastly, after I drank water. I had lunch. To drink water is 물을 마시다. 마시다 is the verb and the stem is 마시. The stem ending with the vowel, so 니은 후에 마신 후에 I had lunch. 저는 점심 식사를 하다. But past tense 했어요. To summarize, today we covered how to say before and after in Korean. Before, if you want to use before with a noun, you simply put 전에 after a noun. If you want to use before with a verb, you put 기전에 after verb stem. If you want to use after with a noun, you simply put 후에 after a noun. If you want to use after with a verb, then we have two ways depending on the verb stem ending with a vowel or a consonant. If the verb stem ending with a vowel, you put 니은 후에 after the verb stem. If the verb stem ending with a consonant, you put 은 후에 after the verb stem. Thank you for watching. I will see you again with a new video lesson. 감사합니다.